playing, and obviously 90% of them want to be footballers when they're older and stuff like that. At what level within Tenembee does it get to the point where you say to some of the kids, it's not for you, or you do select the best of the best? And
no, we are. So I'm quite blessed in terms of I work at Tenembee, which is my community club. So you have players of various ability levels, and it's my kind of job to try and make sure they have a harmony within the team.
Yeah.
But then there's different aspirations for different players. So there'll be some players who will be getting trials at professional academies and moving on. Brilliant. That's what we want to try to encourage everyone to reach their maximum potential. There's other players who football for them is that camaraderie of being amongst a team and learning all the aspects of what team play is all about.
Right.
So it's just trying to create an environment where if you're high achieving, you can push on and go into an academy environment.
Yeah.
If it's just about the community aspect and trying to play at the highest level you can possibly play, and this is your highest level, then brilliant. Then we can try and match that ambition as well.
Okay.
So I've got a couple questions of my own. I'll ask those afterwards. Though.
Yeah.
Still from Shooter Defence's messaged a couple of questions through. He said, in regards to, how much neprotism do you see in the game in regards to coaching?
What a massive
good question.
I probably suffer from it myself. Really good question, because it's one of the things I actually try to fight against. So, in the short, a lot. Football's about who you're comfortable with and who you know. And I have to kind of be careful, because in terms of, in my role at my club, and because I obviously am in charge of trying to bring coaching staff in as well, there probably could be accused I have an element of nepotism in my recruitment policy.
Yeah.
For what I try to do with my coaching staff is I try to have coaching staff who relate to the boys they're going to be working with. So race doesn't come into it. It's can you relate to the demographic of boys you're going to be working with? White, black, Chinese, don't care. So within my phase at my club, it's a mixture of different kind of coaches who kind of work within there. But does nepotism exist within football? Yes, it does. You can look up and down across the country. When a manager goes in, he tends to bring people he wants to come along with him.
Yeah.
So it's not always an open application process in terms of you're going to need a new sports scientist or you're going to need a new under-23s manager. It just goes open to add. It does, but generally you bring someone along who you want to bring along. So yeah, it's a problem, because what happens is the people who are currently, the majority of people who are currently at the top of the game and in high positions within the game don't look like me and you.
Yeah.
So if you're just going to bring people in who you trust and you know, and you're in your kind of like support group and network, it's probably not going to be people like me and you.
Yeah.
So you have to break down those barriers to make sure that there's an element of the best person for the job gets the position.
Yeah.
But slowly it's
getting
to
there.
that stage, yeah.
Okay.
And another one from... Oh no, he just explained why he was asking that question. So I'll go to Darren T's one then. Darren T's asked Paul, he said, because this could cover him, he said, what do you think of agents as a whole?
It's a sticky one. It's like my general opinion of agents is agents, I don't really see much positivity in the word. Whether you're a double agent, secret agent, state agent, there's always something, untowards kind of thing. However, they're in the game, there's a need for them in the game, and there's some fantastic agents who I know who generally are about the individual and about supporting the child or supporting the player and his family. And again, I'll take it from my personal experience in terms of my son. I think initially when we started off, it was you would have every agency in the world kind of contacting you. You come from Chelsea, so when you're at Chelsea, you kind of get that attention. And we elected at that time to go for a smaller agent who we felt had a level of care for him as an individual.
Okay.
So agents are good and bad, just like any industry in the world.
Yeah.
But a good agent is worth his weight in gold. I've seen some players who literally, I would struggle to see where the next move is going to come from when they've nicked a move. And you're thinking, you know what, well done to that agent.
Yeah.
And it can consistently happen. So there's positives and there's negatives, but ultimately they're part of the game, and I support the good ones.
Okay.
In regards to that question earlier, that Still said Darren T trying to flog a player's left knee. No, but in regards to what he was asking in regards to nepotism, because he said he's got a former youth technical director that was at a club in Portugal, but because he's been out of the game for a couple of years, he's struggling to get a role now. That's why he was asking.
Okay.
To that.
You had a couple of questions, did you say? Yeah.
Yeah, is it correct you was working with within women's football before?
Yeah. So it's an interesting journey. So I've got sons and daughters. There's a program once in a day.
Big up.
Sons and daughters. And there was a period where I was taking my older son. He was at Charlton Academy at the time. So it's my son Lefty. They call it. I can't believe I'm calling him Lefty. My son Jordan, who plays for SC Dogs, is called Lefty. So it was my older son was in at Charlton. My older daughter at the same time was in at Millwall. And I had to take them both to training, and then it just dawned on me there was a different level of care and a different level of focus and a different level of equipment and stuff for my son when he was training as opposed to my daughter.
Yeah.
And are massive in terms of equality of opportunity. So that was my route in to say, look, you know what, I'm not going to sit here with the other parents and moan, I'm going to go and do my coaching qualifications. So I started doing my coaching qualifications, and it just so happened that where I was doing my coaching qualifications, the instructor or the tutor was someone who was linked in with Millwall as well. And he just said, look, this candidate's very good. I think you should get him involved in your Women and Girls program. And that's how I got involved initially into the Women and Girls program at Millwall Girls Centre of Excellence, and then eventually became the centre manager there as well.
Okay. So I was going to say, what's your thoughts on the women's game now?
That's
I think I was involved in the game where there was probably very little finance involved in the women's game. So everyone who was involved in the game was doing it for the love of trying to develop the women's game. And it's pleasing to see now that there's now actually real finance in the game. So young talented women, just like young talented boys, have an opportunity to make a career out of the game.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. There should be equality of opportunity. So it's just pleasing the way the game's evolved. The quality levels is amazing to watch the game. You can watch a game now and it's literally just, you're amazed at the quality and the standards on display. And it's always been like that. It's just been closed to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's now just been opened up to the world so people can see, and these girls can actually display their talents, which is pleasing to see.
Okay.
It's wicked to see the coverage and that now that it's getting, because back in the 90s, I knew about Doncaster Bells and Marianne Spacey and that was about it. And then for about 10-15 years you wouldn't have realised when Channel 4 stopped showing that, you wouldn't even have realised that women's football was going on because of the coverage. So it's great now to see it being displayed now. And if England bring it home, then boy
it's right there, because
the way on that bad, so to beat them 8-0 was a bit of a mad one.
So moving on to Millwall.
Yep.
What's your role again, sorry?
Foundation lead, so that would be from within the academy from age 7 up to age 12.
Okay. Yeah. So what is the opportunity like for Millwall for the youngsters moving on from then, from when they get to 12, they go further and then make it professional? Like, is it a good pathway, would you say?
For my club in general?
Yeah.
I think of late, we've had lots of success. So the EPPP, which is brought out by the Premier League, came out in 2012, which was a system which enabled a lot more full-time staff. There's a lot more money pumped into the game, and a lot of resources in terms of like trying to develop young players through the academy system. And I think probably we're starting to see the rewards of that now at Millwall in terms of players that are coming through the system. I think in terms of like achievements and being proud of, we've got players like Darko Diaby, come in and signed at under 10s at Millwall, sold to Man City, and now being sold to Leeds.
Okay.
He will be a big player.
Okay.
Look out from this season.
Yeah.
Another Catford boy, so nice and close.
Okay.
Sam Adozie, again, born and bred Lucian Hospital.
Yeah.
Signed at under 10s at Millwall, sold to Man City as an under 16. I think he's maybe going to leave because I've been hearing stuff that he's made first team appearances and stuff like that.
Okay.
So there is a pathway. Zach Lovelace, played at 15 years of age last season.
Yeah.
Just gone to Rangers. So lots of players are now starting to come through, which is pleasing to see.
So from your perspective, from the 7s to 12s, can you see a player that you think, right, he's going to the top, or if he stays how he is, the sky's the limit? Can you see that from that early, you personally?
You can identify talent.
Yeah.
You never know what the journey is going to be. There's so much factors which can derail your pathway.
Right.
So ultimately, you can identify when someone is, just like in education, above the grade in terms of like they're above everybody else. You can see that. How that continues, and it's a big level of care you have to develop that player. If you've got a talented player, you've got to make sure everything you do continues with that development and doesn't derail that.
Are there any parents that you've met of the people you've identified from early that have got a little something different? If you ever met the parents, you can tell in the way that the parents go about things, you can see.
That's a good question, because it's, if I look at similarities, there's not much, because everyone's an individual. Within the child, it just, what I identify, whether they're a technical player, a defensive-minded player, goalkeeper, whatever, there's one element, which is that grit, just that determination and that grit to be the best at what they do. And you could take that and apply it to anything else. It could be their education or whatever, but they're gritty. They like to compete. They want to win.
Do you think they're born with that, or do you think, as in, not born with it, but they get it from a very, very early age, or do you think it's more instilled in them as they get older and older, and they just get
an element of it is nature, your environment. So maybe your home life and stuff. Because I think the perception is, only the kid from the council estate's going to make it because they're hungry. They really want it. Only that kind of kid.
Yeah.
I've seen some gritty kids who are very affluent.
Right. Okay.
Right. And their parents are gritty and determined in their lifestyle, in what they do to achieve in their workplace, and their child absorbs that. So it's the environment they're brought up in as well.
Right.
So grit, like I said, that it's not just earmarked for people from a council estate who are hungry and want something.
Yeah.
It's just a mindset. It's a determination. It's a way of life. It's the way you are.
Okay. And do you think it's not like, we'll say back to the nepotism thing, but it's not like when they progress, it's not like who you know. Is there still that element of that from the young age of?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll get phone calls like, Paul, well, I've got a friend who's got offer. Yeah, bring me in, have a look.
Right.
Knowing people opens the door.
Yeah.
Your ability in your application's got to keep you in.
Right. Okay.
Excellent.
That's a good point. So do you, maybe not yourself, but people within who work for the 7 to 12s and that, do they go and look at other players from other clubs and say?
Not with us. So there will be a scouting department within every club.
Yeah.
Most clubs will have a scouting department which go and look within the grassroots.
Yeah.
So they go and look at Sunday football. They go and look at schools football, district football, representative football. The better scouts will go and look on the housing estate in the cages and dependents. So that every club will have a scouting system. But then the top elite clubs will also have a player acquisition system as well, which is just to go in to watch other academies and see what players they have. So there'll be two sections. There'll be the scout, which you may see on a Sunday morning out and about looking at players on the grass. Yeah. And there'll be the scouts who literally just go to buy players from other clubs.
Okay. And the way Millwall, that part of the club is set up, would you say, I mean, which other clubs are similar to how you do things, or is there like a grouping, like there's the elites that do it, and
So the academy system is categorised. So you would have a Category 1 academy, which is your elite, Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. Category 4s will just have an under 18s, so they won't have anything beneath that.
Right.
So it'll be some of your clubs with smaller budgets, maybe League 2, possibly League 1, who haven't really got a major budget to finance a full academy, so it'll be a Category 4.
Right.
Some non-league clubs will also be Category 4.
Yeah.
Within where we are, close to where we are now, Bromley Football Club have just applied and been granted Category 4 status, their national league. Okay. Category 3s will be everything from 9s upwards, 7s, 8s, 9s upwards. But they will tend to have a reduced games program, so they don't play it against your Category 2s and Category 1s. Right. So Category 3s locally around here will be like AFC Wimbledon, Gillingham, trying to think who else. They're the two closer ones. Sutton Athletic have just been granted Category 3 status. My brother's just gone to work there within the under 18s and 16s. And then Category 1s and 2s will play in the same games program. Category 2s locally will be Charlton, Millwall. We've got Palace at Category 1, West Ham at Category 1, Chelsea at Category 1, and then your Arsenal, Tottenham's at Category 1s and Chelsea at Category 1s.
Okay.
The Category 1s and 2s will play in the Saints game programme. Category 3s play in their own games programme.
Right, okay. So can you move from a Category 2 to a Category 1? Or
As a player or as a club?
As a club.
You'd have to make an application, and then there's all kinds of requirements. Off the top of my head, I believe it's almost like a £1 million jump in terms of your investment as a club you have to put into it.
Right.
And then you have to have more staff and more facilities, and the demands become slightly more.
Okay. And on a bigger scale with Millwall, Championship?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Never been in the Prem?
Not in the Prem, the old League One.
Right. So, in your opinion, what is stopping Millwall from getting to the Prem? Like, because they never seem to be in contention, what I'm saying is that...
Just missed out last year.
Yeah, just missed out. Hold that, Luca, by the way.
Yeah.
Menace is locked in as well. But what is it? Do you think they have the structure to get to them and survive as it stands?
Right, there's two questions.
Yeah.
So I'll come to the survive part after. In terms of structure to get up there, I very much think we could.
Yeah.
I think there's been some very good signings made over the summer. I think good manager in place, a manager who sets up solid. No one will batter Millwall. We're always in the game.
Okay.
And with the home support, and when they're playing at home, it's a difficult place to come.
Yeah.
So they do make it difficult, and there's some good players there. So, like I said, the youth team are bringing players through as well. There's a couple waiting to break through. Made some good additions. There's nothing to stop Millwall being a Premiership contender for this season. And then with the sustainability part afterwards, I've always said, and this is one of the things I always fight for, if Millwall 100% embrace the local community in terms of the talent, and the community embrace Millwall, I don't see a bigger talent pool anywhere.
Okay.
I just don't see it.
So, I have to raise the question or raise the subject now. With Millwall comes a certain tag, yeah, and it doesn't seem to shake this tag no matter where you go. It's the nature of the fans that the firms and that, but it's the race issue, yeah. Because as far as I've been growing up, everyone associated Millwall with racism, similar to Chelsea, but Chelsea seem to have kind of shaken that tag to a certain degree. But it's always Millwall's fans. Or Millwall are a racist club. That's the tag they get. What's your thoughts on that? And are they doing to shake it? Are they are they making efforts or?
All right. My thoughts are I'm born and bred in Lucian, Brockley by nature. That's me. So growing up, very much the same mentality. Going to Newcastle, we still go to Patches to get a haircut.
Yeah.
You used to check what dates to go down there, what Saturdays you're going to go down.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So growing up, I had the same historic perception of what Millwall was about in terms of like Millwall racist. You just hear it, you just kind of have that in your head, and that's the nature you kind of grow up with. Went to Forest Hill Boys, and my
mum used to teach there, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Mrs.
Good school.
Yeah.
School. And my deputy head, who went on to become head, was a gentleman called Mr. Walsh.
Peter Walsh.
Peter Walsh.
Yeah.
Late Peter Walsh.
Rest in peace,
Rest
Peter
in
Walsh.
peace.
Yeah.
Respect that man immensely. He's someone I knew from when I was at primary school, because his daughters were in my class at primary school as well. So someone I massively respected, and he was a massive Millwall fan, on the committee for the trust and everything like that. And he was someone who I actually used to really trust and respect. And him being a Millwall, it's always banter all the time. That's like my club, he's the lightest Millwall club. Always sing the praise about Millwall, this, that, and the other. And it kind of didn't change my perception, but you kind of give it a chance. Okay, so you go down there, and I had a friend who played one game in the reserves at the old Den, went down there. And it wasn't really until I started to work there, which would have been in 2001, 2002, that I started to see what it was like from the inside in terms of the people there and how it kind of works. So is there a historic problem with regards to the perception of Millwall? Yes. When I work within the club, my remit is to make sure that I need to make sure people from my community have an opportunity to go and play professional football.
Right.
So my job, it's not actually my job, but what I tend to try to do is to create an environment where I know my community feel safe and feel respected. And over the last 15, 20 years, that's what I strive to do. So do I have some issues with bits and pieces I don't 100% agree with in terms of like not taking the knee and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Totally against that.
Yeah.
And I'll express my views to the committee, to the board as well, which I have done.
Yeah.
And that's all I can really do. I can keep fighting. The incident where we didn't take the knee as a club, I think it was reported in the press, it was my brother and myself who went down there. I was at home.
Okay.
And went down there and went in and said, this is not on. This has got to change. This has got to stop. And had meetings with the chief executive and stuff like that, which was received really well.
Okay.
So it's an ongoing fight, but it's a fight for my community to make sure we feel respected and comfortable enough to come and play. And if I look at the demographic of the academy, I'm massively proud. There's lots and lots of black players and staff.
Okay.
Darren T said the last statement you made about Millwall and the community embracing one another, he said is a fact in regards to that. But yeah, it's funny. These had similar questions to what I was going to ask. Probably one other thing that I was going to ask was that we're working in the Midlands stage, is that correct?
No, I haven't. I've worked on camps in the Midlands. That was the women and girls. So we used to do. I was part of the England under 15s, and we used to use we had like an EPC, which is Elite Performance Camp for the top girls in different regions. So I used to work up in the Midlands on those camps quite a lot.
Was there any? So did you have some people from London coming to those camps?
Yeah, but I think what we used to do is to have regional camps. So we'd have a North, Midlands, and South, and then we'd all meet up. This was while St George's Park was being made. So we used to always meet up at Warwick University and stay in a hotel there and do the camps there. It's a nice facility. So you'd have people from all parts of the country coming up to meet at one central point to then train.
Is there any differences you spotted, intangible or tangible things with girls from out of London to girls in London?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, what I would find is pretty similar to what would happen within the boys' game in terms of football's about the opportunity you get. So what would happen, I'll see quite a lot down in South London or in London in general, you'll get lots of talented girls who'll be playing in with the boys. And that may advance them in some level as well, in terms of like the physicality, the technical aspect, the speed of play, which I think was all be my big difference from coaching girls and boys football. And I think sometimes, I don't want to be stereotypical, but sometimes up north there could have been more structure and there would be more girl stuff going on up there. That would be the difference, I'd say.
Okay. So when you watch football now, professional football, because you've been around the game with the youth as well, so you probably see it from a different angle than the average fan and stuff. But do you pay particular attention to certain things, especially like to young players, or how they perform and what they're doing, rather than the whole game itself? Like, how do you perceive?
I no longer watch football the way I used to watch football.
Yeah.
I don't watch football as a fan.
Okay.
I will be heavily biased towards young players. Any player who comes through, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I kind of appreciate from my son's experience how difficult that transition is to playing men's football and how difficult the challenges are. So, everyone's got an opinion within football, and rightly so. But sometimes people forget that you're talking about someone's child that is probably only 18 and playing first team football, and you're battering him on whatever social media platform you've got. He's an elite performer. He has made it to a professional stage where people are paying to watch him play. Back off. That really irritates me sometimes. So I always support the younger players and give them opportunity. So when I watch football, the lens I watch it for is what are they trying to do. I don't look at the result anymore, because within youth football, the result doesn't mean a great deal. I don't care about the result. I'm looking at what they're trying to achieve and where they can get to. And that's probably a wrong with what I do when I watch professional football, because I've still got that mindset on.
Exactly.
So when everyone says, what's he trying to do there? I'm like, I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
If it would come off, we'd be saying something different. So I look at it from a different lens.
We're going to touch on your son in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to talk from personal perspective. What type of football do you prefer to watch? I mean, like, which team do you say plays the best football that you see currently?
your Arsenals and the Man Cities will play an attractive brand of football.
Right.
But I respect all football.
Okay.
Pass the ball. And that pass can be a 60-yard pass from your goalkeeper into your centre forward.
Right.
If it's an intended pass,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
So pass the ball. It doesn't have to be 25 tippy-tappy passes to get to the end result. If we always teach the players work from front to back. So eyes up. What do you see? If you can see that pass, you think you're capable of doing it, and it's a longer pass, you can get someone in. Do it.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Because one of our listeners, one cousin, Sean, used to play for Millwall, and he said, interesting enough, the best manager he played under was Sam Allardyce. He said his attention to detail and the way he approached the game, he said it was second to none. Basically, obviously Sam Allardyce gets slaughtered about the way he style of football and stuff like that. So it's interesting, different opinions.
That was what Allardyce's complaints were about. Also, when he had that rant about what Mikel Antonio said about him. When he was at West Brom, he was saying that he thought he was harsh, and he was saying that's why he's going to come out of the game, because he said that he gets to know his personnel and he plays to what the players he has. He said if he's got passing players, he'll play passing football.
Yeah.
But because of the jobs he's been getting, he's tended to have players that are more suited to a direct style of play. So he's saying that people look at him as being a one-dimensional manager, but he's nothing like that. So when Sean said that, and that was the best to explain the reasons why, you kind of realise what he was getting at, because obviously Sean was someone striker, but was used at 10 sometimes as well. So his versatility would make Allardyce want to play a better brand of football if he had more players. You know what I'm saying? So
keep the tweets coming in at D&D Footy Factory. Underscore use the hashtag Footy OnTop. Just gonna go on to your son Casey, Casey Palmer. Not necessarily about him as a footballer, because he's not here for talk himself, but your experience of his football journey and your input and seeing him going up from a youth to professional football.
Yeah.
You touched on it earlier, and this before we started the show. What was your experience of parenting him during that time, to get him from, first of all, when did you identify that he A, wanted to play football, and B, had an ability?
Well, he's got an older brother, and we used to go and watch him play locally around here. He used to play for a club. We didn't have a side at Tenembee at that time, and Casey always used to come along as a younger sibling. Interesting enough, didn't really show a great deal of interest. Like all the other kids are playing on the sideline, but Casey would just watch. Just watch the game. Let's go and play. Just watching the game. And then when he started to play like under sevens, you start to realise that he's actually got a talent here. So everything he was watching is absorbing, and just taking it on board. And his journey was playing locally at under sevens. We actually ran a development centre for Charlton at Millwall at the time.
Okay.
So, at Tenembee at the time, apologies. So Charlton ran a development centre at Tenembee. He used to go along to that. Got picked up from there. Went into Charlton as an under 9. What was really pleasing and what really worked out was that Charlton and Mill were my closest clubs. So Charlton was only 20 minutes drive, probably 45 on after school drive. But there was 2 other players who lived locally who were also at Charlton, which meant as parents we could share the drive. So although it was 3 evenings a week and a game on a Sunday, as a parent I'll be doing that journey once a week, because our parents would change it and mix it up a bit, which was really good. There's other players, a young lad called Josh Umara, who's just signed for Hartlepool. So they're all in the same year. Another player was Joe Gomez, as we know is one of that
new contract on that.
So we used to all share the drive, which was brilliant, and it made it a doable and easy journey to do throughout the duration of his career. So at every step of the way, there would always be clubs sniffing and inquiring. But as a family, it was important for us that he finished his education and everything was set for him within the schooling system and the football system. So we didn't entertain anything until under 16s, at which stage he left and got bought. Basically bought and went to Chelsea. So he went to Chelsea from his scholarship from 16s to 18s. Left Chelsea 2-3 years ago. He had a few loans, but then left permanently to sign for Bristol City when he was 22.
So just going back to, you said the education piece was important. From your perspective, how difficult was it instilling that in with him because he probably loved football at the time.
Yeah.
But to make him understand that no, education is just as important, just in case, like.
It's just I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's just trying to make sure you can juggle it all, because if you're 3 evenings a week is a big ask.
Yeah.
So it's trying to juggle that and making sure there's a level of importance, a higher level of importance placed upon your education. Because the game's gone mad. You'll get a situation now where some clubs, I think the rules may be trying to change it, but clubs can still navigate around it. Some clubs almost be paying almost like fees to the parent to kind of induce your kid and keep him there at the particular club.
Right. Okay.
That was something which I'm not saying it was ever offered to me, but
Yeah.
it's not a concept I would like. I don't want my child to mind me.
Yeah.
I'm a parent. I mind my child.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I appreciate that that's going on quite often now. In
Okay.
terms of like inducements to keep players at your club. But everything just kind of worked in terms of like we had a good support structure. The other families were on the same page.
Yeah.
And it was a good journey because you learnt a lot. So I've learnt in terms of how clubs can treat you, and they treated us generally nice at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like shaped the way I am in terms of my job role now.
Right. Okay. Okay. So then he's moved from his loan period to Bristol.
Yep. We had a couple of loans. I think the first one was Huddersfield,
Okay.
which was a really good loan, and that's what I'm talking about when you have young players with zero fear. It just works for him. And that was the year they managed to get out of the Championship into the Premiership, which was fantastic for him. So he's done that move to Huddersfield, which was brilliant. And again, you're talking about an 18-year-old boy living on his own in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're a parent. I mean, your kid's gone away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of difficult because you're thinking there's a lot of downtime for these footballers.
Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot of downtime. You go in and train and start at 10 and you're home by 1. What are they doing? What's in place to support these children? So that was a difficult time, but he just took to it really well. But I do appreciate that some players, it's not always that easy a journey. It can be difficult.
Because his name, Casey Farber's bells name was ringing bells in the Chelsea Youth South.
Yeah.
So a lot. His name's mentioned a lot. So I hope obviously this Coventry transfer goes well for him.
Fingers crossed.
As a get him in Prem.
So earlier you talked about kids with the grit and the determination.
Yeah.
Did he have that from early?
Yeah, so he was, it's a real strange one because I think football can create narratives. I think you touched on Sam Allardyce earlier on, and he's got this narrative at his long ball. Well, Sam brought a lot of talented players to Bolton.
Yeah.
JJ Archer and was balling.
Yeah.
So there's a perception and a narrative people can create which is false.
Yeah.
And so my and I'm a parent, but Casey's as a development, as an academy player, he used to work bloody hard. He used to run all over the place.
Okay.
But the perception now is I was a bit lazy. This and that.
Right.
He's a London boy, and he's
Yeah.
socks over the knees, and so you can have a narrative and have a perception which can carry on, which is completely false.
Right. Okay.
So it can be a tough one, but
Yeah.
I think it's important that you have a big, good support structure behind you. It may be your family, it may be your agent.
Yeah.
Just to support you on that journey, because it can become difficult psychologically.
Okay. And a couple of questions. When he moved from Chelsea, was there anything in his mind? Because from the perception, sometimes from the outside looking to, he's gone from Chelsea to a lower league club. Did he think like that, or did he think, right, this is an opportunity to kick on?
No, I think any player at Chelsea or Man City, you are probably in the best environment up until the age of 18.
Right.
The experience, the range of experiences you have. You're playing in like the UEFA Youth League. When the first team go on tour to Austria or whatever, you're going as well. You might not go with them, but you're going as well.
Right.
So the range of experiences and training with the first team and stuff like that is amazing. It's that difficulty in breaking into that first team bracket, because we're sitting here for the first hour of the show, we're talking about marquee signings.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not taking my lens off the fact there's 23s in there who are ready to burst, and they'll be the new stars. That's what I'm looking at. Them ones, they'll be the new stars and the new names on everyone's lips. And that becomes a difficult thing, really making that breakthrough.
Right.
And a lot of the times in football, it's only through adversity you realise what you've got. So Chelsea, transfer embargo, can't sign. What does Lampard have to do?
Play the youth.
A whole batch of players bust.
Yeah.
Palace, was it 10 years ago, under real financial pressure. What do
Yeah.
you have to do? play the youngsters, Zaha bus. And this is what happens.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you lose your way. You become a club. You see what happens in Newcastle. You become a big club. you get your money, and you start setting your targets up there, and stop realising what actually make you who you are.
We won't make that mistake, by the way. We know what we're doing. But no, I get you. So now he's at Coventry. What's his position in your opinion?
I like him playing centrally.
Oh.
I just like him to be on the ball as much as possible, and it's an interesting one because I can't remember who he spoke about. Was it? I think he mentioned Bruno Fernandes about some of the things he gives away, and I thought, okay, let me hold that thought. He gives it away because he's trying things.
Yeah.
I like people who try things. So if you're looking at percentages and say, oh, this person's pass percentage is 99%.
I don't pay attention to that.
How many forward passes? How many times are you trying to probe something? How many times are you trying to unlock something?
Yeah. But you can play it safe.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So, how long was the contract that he signed there? I don't know. Is it
3 years?
3 years, right? Okay. So has he moved up there?
And that's another thing. It's constant moving. It's constant upheaval. You've got families.
I'm gonna say,
kids settling into nurseries and schools. You've got to move, and and that's why we spoke a little bit about. Is it Eric? I keep saying his name wrong. Ericsson.
Yeah.
And has he done Brentford wrong? This, that, and the other. Football's a short career. When football's done with you, it's done with you.
And that's what my next question was going to be. So
you've got to look out for yourself.
In your opinion, because obviously we don't know, but we hear these stories about footballers, not planning for the future, living for the now, and then all of a sudden, they're struggling, or when they retire because injury, or the club doesn't want you anymore, and you're struggling to find a club and stuff. Had you got that mindset, whereas like you said, football's a short career?
Yeah.
What am I going to do next? In your opinion, would he have set the groundwork for? Would he be okay? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's. I think it's made the whole experiences of going out on loans and stuff has made him quite mature. So I think within his mindset, he's very strategic and knows what he wants to do in terms of his plans long term.
Okay. And is he a Chelsea fan as well?
No, he's at Liverpool.
Oh,
hey! Come on,
another one. Yeah. No, we got him anyway. I hope he continues to be successful and stuff. Liverpool. No. All right. Just to end the show, you did speak about plans that you're trying to do.
So locally we're trying to get, with all the local schools, trying to get a Lucian District. So for years we've had a Blackheath District which combined Greenwich Borough schools and Lucian Borough schools to combine to create one district. I'm quite tribal about Lucian. I didn't quite understand the concept of Blackheath. I don't pay any council tax to Blackheath. I'm Lucian through and through.
Yeah.
So we've created a Lucian District which would just be for the pupils who go to schools in Lucian, boys and girls. To represent Borough and go and play in all the local competitions. When I say local, the national competitions and all the school representative competitions.
Okay.
So that's a real big push of mine to just have Lucian on the map.
And in an ideal scenario, when would that be?
Well, we've got trials. We've got a second round of trials today to try and finalise the squad, and then when we come back to school in September, we'll start the fixtures and start playing games on a regular basis.
Okay. And as a parent of a successful footballer, what advice would you give to any parents, young or old, who have ambitions of their child making it?
Great question.
It's just the level of support they're going to need. Like I said, it's a long journey, and anything your child invests in, your child could be a fantastic guitarist or a gymnast or a swimmer. It requires that level of investment from you.
Right.
And quite often I see, because in my role, it's a small club, we all chip in. There's times I have to drive the minibus to Norwich,
right,
or to Ipswich or whatever. And when I drive the minibus, it's quite often the same children you'll see on the minibus.
Okay,
so it's that level of parental support is massive, and I've kind of got that from a head teacher at a local school in Lewisham who has gone to all the schools. I think he's worked in like 4 or 5 different schools. The school he's working at now is a very high achieving school, and I said, why is it? And the one thing he said to me was that parents have to jump through hoops to get into this school, so I know there's a level of care.
Right.
You have to care and support your child in his journey.
Yeah.
And if you do that, no matter what they do, they've got a better success rate of actually making it.
Okay, great advice. So all the parents listening, there you have it.
Casey's got he's been capped by Jamaica, hasn't he?
Yeah, that was a proud moment. Proud moment. Yeah, so he's had a cap. I think they played the USA.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
Hopefully
was.
he gets back in now. No, he's
Yeah,
fit.
hopefully he's playing now, gets himself back in again. So that was massively proud. He goes to Jamaica quite often.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got family over there, and his what soon to be wife have family over there as well. So
Congratulations on
yeah,
both
it's
fronts.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a proud moment for the family across the board.
Okay.
Love that.
We'll be watching him intently for the season coming up, so big him up for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure having you on.
It's been a pleasure being on. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Hope you listeners enjoyed that one. But yeah, and you know, anytime you want to come back on the show, just let us know. But yeah, good stuff. Big Sam, we've got a minute left. Anything from you?